Shalom Uvracha. So today we're going to be studying the highlights of the Ohr Hachaim Hakadosh of Chaim ben Atar, Parsha Vaetchanan. It's really been a pleasure, and let's see if he can inspire us in our avodat Hashem. Isn't that what learning Torah is all about? Dedicate our Torah for the sake of all of Am Yisrael. Avodat Hashem should be for our protection and for all of our tefillos to be answered. The Ohr Hachaim begins with the famous tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu. We know that we learn out the laws of tefillah, the praising of Hakadosh Baruch Hu in Shemona Esrei. And the Ohr Hachaim writes that when you daven, you need to daven like a poor man knocking on the door, like begging, not expecting. Lashon of Chaim. The prayer has to be addressed to the source of mercy, the God's attribute of Rachamim. So this is obviously a Kabbalistic concept. The prayers must be, of course, is referencing back Moshe, Yud Kei Vav, Moshe asking from the name of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. The prayers must be offered at the acceptable time, Be'etahi, Moshe davens. The prayers have to be very specific, can't be interpreted wrongly. You have to be very specific as to exactly what you want when you daven. And we learn all this from Moshe's tefillah. Beautiful insights. We're going to do about 7 insights. So moving forward in the Parsha, we have the famous pasuk, one of my favorite pasuk in the whole Torah, chapter 4, verse 4. And you attach yourself to Hashem, you are alive today. So the Ohr Hachaim explains that let me just find the exact spot. The Zohar writes, and when you do a mitzvah, God's name rests on that organ, which the mitzvah has been fulfilled. The Chaim comes onto you from Elokeichem, from Hashem. And whatever mitzvah you're doing, if you're wrapping your tefillin, it's going on your arm, and if you're speaking, it's going on your mouth, and you sing a bracha, or onward and onward. This Chaim is being drawn upon you when you say the name of Hashem, when you do every mitzvah. That's the idea of the Hashem. And when you don't do a lotase, you also draw godly light upon you, and that's connected to the word Elokim. And Hashem symbolizes the godly light which is coming upon you when you do the mitzvah, and the Elokim represents the godly light that falls upon you when you don't do an avera. Beautiful idea. Beautiful idea. Also points out on this pasuk that the wicked are referred to as dead in this world, according to the Gemara in Brachos, Daf Yud Ches, because they're drawing energy from a dead place, the Satan. But when you do a mitzvah, you're drawing energy from Hakadosh Baruch Hu itself. To be zoicha, to constantly be truly alive. The pasuk in 4:10 writes, "Vashme'em et v'ai," and I'll make them hear my words, says Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Ohr Hachaim explains, based on the Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Mem Vav, that when the Jewish people were at Har Sinai, God took away all of the negative energy, the serpent's sin, so that we could really truly hear the word of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Similarly, when we do tshuva before we learn Torah, we're zoicha to really tap into the words of Torah that we're learning. Beautiful. As you see, he's taking beautiful ideas and making them practical in our lives, like on the derech of Chassidut. The Ohr Hachaim talks about the tshuva that in Sheni, how a person can either have bad situations in life and then be forced to do tshuva, or a person can do tshuva, and by doing that tshuva, he won't need to experience those afflictions and that pain. The tshuva protects you from the pain And that is our hope, that in the end of days, we will all be zocheh to do tshuva, so we won't have to experience the pain of the end of days. Ohr Hachaim also points out, just as a side note, he writes that the prayer needs to be more intense when you're out of the holy soil of Eretz Yisrael. When you're on Eretz Yisrael, you're more connected, and it's easier to connect to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Something that I often mention in my tours. V'yadata yom, and you shall know today. What's this today? So the Ohr Hachaim offers 10 explanations of the meaning of what's today, but I'm just going to mention one that I found most meaningful. You should see the Ohr Hachaim inside. The Zohar writes that if a person wants to conduct himself properly, he should review every night what you did, so you can do tshuva properly if you made a mistake and get on the straight path for tomorrow. And I have some good friends, Sadiqim, who really do this every night. They do a cheshbon nefesh. And this is based on this Zohar of making hayom every single day a cheshbon nefesh, making it the best day of our life, like it's the last day of our life. Live every day to the fullest. Okay. The Ohr Hachaim writes, at the point of the mitzvah is to fear God. And the Ohr Hachaim points out something brilliant, that oftentimes we do sins because of yira, because of fear. In fact, the Egel Azav was a sin committed out of fear. We, the Jewish people, were scared. And often we, also I'd say this sin in Raglim was because of fear. They didn't know what would lie ahead of them in the future. And often we sin because we're scared of what are people going to say. Everyone's going to think I'm weird, and so on and so forth. So the Ohr Hachaim said we should only use fear as a way of serving Hashem, not take us away from Hashem. That's what fear is here for. Then the Torah goes into the beautiful psukim, v'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, and you should love Hashem, your God. The Ohr Hachaim talks about how we should be completely lovesick in the same way that we love a woman. And that's the goal, that we should be totally enamored with Hakadosh Baruch Hu. And he points out that the truth is, when a person's missing certain basic things, like he wants children, he wants parnasa, he wants health, and it's not in his life, it could be very, very hard to love God. Nonetheless, the Torah, it charges us, despite all the challenges, to tap into that deep inner love that we have inside for Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Beautiful words. And on and on, he talks about this concept of loving Hakadosh Baruch Hu and focusing on this. By the way, I just mentioned parenthetically, one of the best times to fulfill this mitzvah is when you're singing. Channel your energy when you're singing to Hakadosh Baruch Hu on a nice Shalosh Shudas and a nice Friday night, a nice Kabbalat Shabbat, right, to Sefer Harid, and that is one of the ways we express our love for Hakadosh Baruch Hu, especially in Yid Nefesh. All right, I hope you enjoyed this short review of some of the comments of the Ohr Hachaim. I hope you read it yourself. There's an English version, and I bless you with a lot of love of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, a lot of fear of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, awe of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and we shall be zocheh to learn our wonderful masters like the holy Ohr Hachaim. Can't wait to see you next week. Have a great Shabbos, and I hope you stay in touch.